Und zwar haben wir live gleichzeitige Zuschauer. Andrea wollte es sich anschauen. Wir haben keinen Zuschauer gleichzeitig. Bin ich hier heute im Internet? Ja, schade. Hallo an alle Leute da online. Du musst dann natürlich auch enden mit Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.
Nee. Okay, sollen wir starten?
Ja, lass den Ding mal dann rausnehmen. Machst du die Eröffnungsslide oder ich? Okay. Den Klicker hast du schon in der Hand. Okay, Elena, magst du die... Elena? Magst du die Tür dann zumachen? Nicht zu weit vorgehen. Nicht zu weit vorgehen.
Okay, maybe. To the audio guy back there. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Hey, hello, hello. So I was told with the microphone it's better, so we will try it with. First of all, thanks all for joining to our session today. Hello, yeah, it works. If you attended the Biosphere track today, there was a lot of AI talking today. We want to give you a little fresh end to the full day of talks with our talk, which is called AI Doing, not Talking. In our talk, we want to give you some insights on the methods and tools that I would say the top 10% of the deep tech founders at TUM Venture Labs currently use to move at an incredible speed. So we called it from 0 to 100 in your leverage of AI for new venture creation. Shortly, who we are. So my name is Jan Mittendorf. Nice to have you here. Some familiar faces, some new faces. From training, I'm actually a mathematician, but I was always so eager to build stuff and to bring it out into the real life. That's why I also successfully failed my own startup. After 3 years, we closed it down, unfortunately. But I moved on to TUM Venture Labs, where I now work at the intersection of software and AI and entrepreneurship. And now I'm leading the TUM Venture Lab for Software and AI in Heilbronn, where TUM has a little subsidiary, and it's in Baden-Württemberg. So take out your phones and look where Heilbronn is if you don't know. And with me today, I have my fabulous colleague, Bastian, who will introduce himself now.
Hello? Okay. Okay, we're also switching mics then. That is...
No.
Oh, technology. That is the only thing that's not AI enabled here. I'm basically doing the same job as Jan, but in Munich. You don't have to take out your phone to know where Munich is. Haha. I'm Basti. I'm also not a entrepreneur fallen from the skies. I studied physics at TUM, and then also started a company which we had 3 fantastic years, and then 1.5 not so fantastic years. So I also had to close that down. And as you can see, I tried my hands on quite a lot of stuff after that, leading me eventually to the Venture Labs to help founders who are probably in the same situation that we found ourselves in quite some years ago, to avoid some of the mistakes that we made, and to help them be more successful and particularly faster in the first couple of steps they are making.
Thanks, Basti. One slide about what we actually do. When people ask me what my job is about, I just tell them I help scientists becoming entrepreneurs. Sometimes I get some strange views, but it's actually quite a lot of fun. Okay, but now to the topic, what we are going to cover today. We have all been there. We worked in a large corporation. We had some great idea, and then the whole cycle started. We created a working group. We tried to get some budget. Some people had an idea to use that budget for external consultants. And by the time the project was conducted, we figured out, somebody else realized the idea already. That's why we ask you, are you ready today for your co-innovation with AI? Because this is what we're going to show you today. We brought with you a little use case that Basti will conduct with you, and I try to give some comments before and after to explain a little what Basti actually did. So welcome to generative AI and no code to use it for innovation. By now we all know AI can help us with so many things, writing emails, even coding a website, producing ideas for logos, for names. But the question still is, how does it really help me in getting further with my ideas for startups or for innovation in my company I'm working for? To start with something, we just need to build a little mental model for ourselves to explain to us the process we're going to follow. And we use this 6-step approach today, but for sure there are hundreds of models out there to explain how innovation works. We'll start with discovery and validation, going further to prototyping and testing, and then to building and scaling our idea. In the beginning, a lot of uncertainty is involved, and the things we are coming up with usually show not a lot of sophistication, maybe some reports we're generating or some text. But in the end, we want to really hold something that has value and that is functioning. In this whole innovation process, we are doing the build, measure, learn about 1,000 times, I guess. This is a framework that every startup founder will learn throughout its entrepreneurial life. We are starting with a hypothesis. We have some assumptions about what is happening in such a volatile and uncertain world out there. With this hypothesis, we come up with an experiment. We are building something, an experiment where we can test something and measure something. And with these measurements, we are learning, and with this learning, we can adapt our hypotheses and going on. And in this whole process, we will probably do it, as said, 100, 1,000 times. In the beginning, these build, measure, learn cycles should usually be really fast and really simple, but they add more and more sophistication to our results in the end. Shortly about innovation or also startups, the most important thing is probably to answer in the beginning, who's my customer and how can I serve them with something I can produce? So it's about matching needs with some offerings. So if this is your customer and you're offering vegetables, you probably will have a hard time. And in the use case we are showing today, we want to show you that with some cool generative AI and some no-code tools, you can actually be 10 times, if not even 100 times more efficient and faster. You can already reduce a lot of uncertainty in each step, especially in the beginning when you don't know anything about your future customers. You can get some guidance, which is, I think, really crucial, because in the beginning, as a founder, you have limited resources. Maybe you're a solo founder, maybe you have a small team. So guidance is needed a lot. And really important, you can start without the need for professional developers. So many founders approach us and tell us, yeah, but I need some techies who will code the solution. Today, we want to give you some examples that everybody can start simple today with the help of AI. I think enough of explanation about the theory and what we are doing there. You might ask yourself, okay, what will the use case be about we will show? So Basti, I think we'll start with discovery and validation. Tell us, what does it have to do with a rubber duck.
Yeah, one thing that you did not see on my introductory slide is that I also own a plan for rubber ducks, a company building rubber ducks. And business is not really going great, so we have strong competition and we desperately need some innovation. Unfortunately, we're selling through retailers and we don't really need to know our customers, and competition is so strong and all the stuff. But as I heard from Jan, competition being strong, having no budget, having no people, having no developers is not an excuse anymore. So all the questions that I need to ask myself in innovation, like who is using them and why, and all those other things, we can do without making complex focus groups, hiring consultants, hiring internals. We can all do this ourselves. And of course, the first and most obvious tool that I will be using is GPT, ChatGPT to be more precise, and just go through the first steps to discover my customers in ChatGPT. Actually, Jan and I had both the real life experience. We are both building B2B products, that having a call with a B2B customer who's relevant for us takes in scheduling something like 2 months. With ChatGPT, you said that in a very nice terms, it would have taken you 30 seconds. And this is exactly what we will be doing now with ChatGPT. ChatGPT, as you know, as all other LLMs, are built, are fed, are trained with the majority of openly available information on the website, on the internet. So they probably also have information about your customer, about rubber duck customers. So what would I do? I asked ChatGPT to take on the role of a potential customer, of my rubber duck, and ask them, why are you not buying my rubber ducks anymore? It was such a good business some years ago and now you're not doing it anymore. Buy now prompting is so super simple that you barely can make a mistake. Just be clear that you want to be very precise on how you're asking. So you want to describe the role of the assistant. You want to be very explicit, say you are the customer, not just any customer, but you're a specific customer. You're a single mom, for example, who needs the rubber duck to calm down her child while it's taking a bath time. Or you're a developer who's doing duck coding. Duck coding, for those who don't know, is you code to a rubber duck, and hopefully just by talking to the rubber duck, you understand where you made the mistakes. Or so many other use cases why you could be using a rubber duck or your product or any product. Describe the tasks and that in the conversation that is about to happen. For example, you are about to interview that role, that assistant, and work iteratively. Nobody can take away the pain of working iteratively, that at some points you will run into dead ends. But you need to do all of these, keep this in mind, to get very, very quickly to some first insights. And be specific and provide content. Probably the most important thing, because obviously LLM never knows who is dealing with. If we are talking, you can assume so much of me just by looking at me, where we are, what the weather is outside. If I ask you about the weather, you probably just look outside. If I ask an LLM about the weather today, they don't know where I am. They don't know if I'm interested in weather in general or about the weather report. So be very, very specific. Provide all the context that you need. With that in mind, I started my journey and I asked a lot of fictitious customers, like the bathtub fan who just has rubber duck, maybe a rubber duck collector, maybe somebody who wants to have it for mindfulness, a student who uses a rubber duck as a kind of a fidget toy or whatever. I can come up basically with all those personas and have some first validation. Obviously, this will not replace the real customer interaction, but it can validate, and we can talk from experience because for us it did validate so many first hypotheses that you might have, and get you so far ahead so you can have the touch points with the real customers so much more valuable. Yes. And of course, you can also go into the other direction and use LLMs to help you with how to interrogate. For example, there's this book by Robert Fitzpatrick, that's probably one that we both recommend for all of our students, on how to conduct customer interviews. So also use the LLM to become expert to help you with that. You're an expert in conducting customers interviews. You're an UX expert, UI expert. You might be another expert, like an experienced founder. You might be a venture capitalist. And I can challenge all the ideas with experts that I have now in-house. So already with that, I think the first excuse that we had, we don't have resources, is really out of the way, because now we can in-source a first step into all of these resources to discover how to innovate the rubber duck. And of course, we can also be a little bit more of the top. ChatGPT, everybody knows ChatGPT, but do you want an entire business plan? Yes, of course. There are tools like Dharma Dozen and a dozen others where you just pitch in one sentence of your pitch, and it creates a 50-page business plan on the entire thing for you. So, of course, this is just one of many tools. I like that quite a lot. It's very much over the top. So if you ever need some presentation for a board meeting, this might be something. If it's not for a board meeting, the advice from Jan and me would probably be lean, make it clear on a couple of slides what you're doing. But this is all in the discovery phase, in the ideation phase, what we can already do with just a handful of tools, most of them even on the free usage.
Wow, Basti, I didn't know that your rubber duck manufacturing company has such a broad variety of personas using it. Thanks a lot for the insights. Let us have a look of what actually happened and give you some recommendations. When Basti was coming up with ChatGPT, I saw some heads going down like, oh, okay, it's a talk about ChatGPT again. But really, let me tell you, what we can get out of this in a couple of minutes to hours is what entrepreneurs have needed time for, I would say 6 weeks to 8 weeks in the beginning, because they can't hire a big team of consultants that run big studies on somewhere, so they need to do it themselves. Our recommendation is that if you're just a beginner and you just want to try something out, you have some idea, start with the tools that are maybe already available in your companies. Maybe you're in the Microsoft universe, so you have Microsoft Copilot at your hands. Maybe it's Google Gemini. Or if you're already paying for one of these tools or you're on a tight budget, get some account at those tools like ChatGPT, Claude, or Poe. But if you really want to step up your game, because here you really need a little bit of prompt engineering to get out proper results, which is not a waste of time, I would say. It's a skill worth learning these days. But if you really want to step up your game in that, you can start using those custom GPTs, so those assistants that somebody created for a specific job. But just be aware the quality can sometimes be mixed because you don't know actually what has happened in the background, what kind of documents have been fed to those assistants, and also what kind of instructions have been given. And if you're really the researcher that says, I want to base my assumptions on real data, I want to get insights, try some workflows like using Perplexity and combine it with tools like NotebookLM, or even use the tool from Stanford that is really useful as well, called CoStorm. If that's all new for you, no worries, you can get the slides later, you can try out all these tools and become a pro yourself. And if we additionally combine it with tools like Basti presented, for example, there's a tool called Synthetic Users where you can really simulate user interviews with specific personas, or Outset AI, which does something similar but even a bit more advanced, or the tool that you showed us, Dime a Dozen. You can already power a lot of use cases that are lifting the heavy weight from the research that you need to do in the beginning of each innovative idea. It starts with idea generation. You can use it to really nail your problem statement. Try it out. In the beginning, your problem statements usually tend to be really vague. You can derive your unknown hypotheses, your biases, your personal biases that you have towards your idea, because you always think your idea is the best. You can start with some market research, market segmentation, and even go on with customer discovery and crafting end user profiles. wow, that's already a lot of guidance, a lot of help, where some entrepreneurs that start in our lab already stopped to think about their idea. So, A, it can speed up your discovery. You can make more and more informed decisions. And lastly, it also increases the chances of success in later on stages that are based on the knowledge you make in the beginning. Okay, theory again, but now back to your story, Basti. How is it going further now? You discovered a lot of things about uses of rubber ducks. How do you plan to continue now?
Well, actually, while I was standing there, you didn't notice, I actually prompted a little bit and coded a little bit. And we will now go to the product phase, and let's generate some leads and hypes. I already have some first ideas where we could go, and therefore I want to make a Steve Jobs-like reveal. We have one more thing for you presented. It's called QuackSync. That is what came out of my customer interviews. The core idea of QuackSync is, when do you have the best ideas? Right when you're under the shower. So QuackSync is the solution for you. You have a rubber duck that is AI enabled, that will record your ideas under the shower and push it to a cloud, so you have it when you're at desk. I know from your reaction you find it a fantastic idea and just want to throw money at me. So you're in luck. I actually have the solution for you. So first thing we of course need is a landing page, because as we learned, we want to be in a situation where we can test it first before we go into huge scale production. And a fantastic way is to have a landing page, create some hype around this. The first landing pages I built were with WordPress some years ago. Takes forever to build something. By now, there's, for example, a tool like Reloom, and all the tools that we show are just examples. There are many like this. Reloom, again, I just prompt in what I want to have, and it takes some seconds. So this is exactly the prompt I have. Of course, I did a little bit adjust the prompt, but this is something I got out of ChatGPT, out of the first step. And it created completely automated for me, completely from scratch, the entire website, the entire, how's it called? Sitemap, thank you, for the website, including all the components on the website and including all the text for the website. Not only the sitemap, but in the second step, it also created the entire wireframing for the website. Just a couple of seconds. I had barely the time to get an espresso in my kitchen while it was creating all of this for me. So fantastic. We can now take this. Of course, as you can see, you have to fill in some pictures. You probably want to change the copy a little bit, but it's from a week-long process to a minute-long process, down to a million-long process. What you can do with that is a little bit of workflow. How would you do the workflow? I, for example, would export this to Figma. Why do I want to have this in Figma? Because if I have this, Figma is a design tool. If you are a little designer aware, you might know Figma. And in Figma, I can't use Figma, but Figma can export this to a tool called Framer, which is a super simple in the terms, it's very powerful, but easy to use website builder. And just importing this there and then replacing some images, this is what I have. I will show you some things that are live, that are real. At the end of the talk, you can look at this and the product that I will show you in a second. I time-boxed all of these steps to 30 minutes. So this is a website that I built within 30 minutes from scratch to something that is live on the internet that everybody of you can interact with. And I don't know about you, but with my prior experience in web design, which would never have been able to create a website that is as beautiful, of course, all the pictures are AI generated. No surprise there. The text I actually wrote myself. Sorry for that. I hopefully get a pass. And then putting as a best practice another clear machine learning tool like Google Ads behind that. I can do all the performance marketing I need from idea to this website. We are now at 1 hour, just 1 hour from I understood that I have a problem to I have a landing page. Or do you want to generate the hype train? Yes, of course you want. You can, of course, use the assets that I created and create a Kickstarter campaign if you want to make it even better. Of course, on Kickstarter, you need a prototype. How to build the prototype will be the next section. But it's also super simple. Create some images there, some front-end images, make some photos yourself, make them beautiful with AI tools, and create some copy. And you're basically done with everything. So now in 1 hour, I honestly time box it to 1 hour, we are at a stage where we have an idea and can show the idea to the world.
Wow, Basti, what a time to be alive, right? I already wanted to hire a web designer for 2,000 euros that will build me my website, or because I'm on a short budget, I already thought about stopping my idea, but now I really know how to put things live. And let me frame it a little bit. It doesn't mean that it's the best product or the best idea, but what distinguishes it
Excuse me, not the best idea?
Let's see. The success will speak for you, but it's the speed that differentiates teams using techniques like this, getting their ideas out into the real world and testing them. So let me give you a little bit of context again. Where do we stand? So for sure, you can use text generation tools like ChatGPT and all the others we have seen to create text about even defining your prototype. That's already a hard task for many entrepreneurs. What should be included and what is not 100% necessary. But then also for sure to create text for your website, for social media, for your pitch deck, for all of that. And the same you can do with image generation. About image generation itself, we could do a full day of learning which tools to use for what and so on. I will skip that for now and just say the application scenarios are vast. You can start with creating visuals for your websites. You can create product demos like we've seen with the rubber duck and the packaging. You can create visuals for your pitch deck, but also visuals with your imagined customers just to make it more graspable for the audience in the real world. When it's about building a landing page, just to have your idea out there and showing it to real people, we can use no-code website builders like Software is, for example, one. But if you really want to step up your game, a little bit like Basti did, we can use these 3 programs. There are also for sure alternatives. You can just Google the name and say alternative. Things where you start with a sitemap builder like Relumis, then export it to a wireframing tool like Figma, and then just export it to a website builder like Framer or Webflow is also pretty popular. And then, as Basti showed, use a classical tool like Google Ads that does the job. Try to get some traffic and try to generate some inbound traffic on your website and your idea. So also there, again, it's the speed that is incredible. It's also the quality of results. To be honest, I can code because I learned this, but I'm not a web designer or a website builder. So the results I get from this are better than my skills can do. And I don't need to hire anyone to support me. Cool. Basti, but this is just a empty idea. You'd never built something. I mean, how should we now continue? If you get some inbound traffic, what do you do next? You can't just build it, right? Or can you?
I get the point. Actually, you're probably the first one in the Venture Labs who says you never build something. But I already have a solution for you. Again, I time box this because I, of course, want to show something. I actually want to ship something to you guys. So we're now looking into how to do the real thing. And the real thing is a little bit more tricky in the terms you need a little bit of a learning curve, which is absolutely worth it. So of course we can just cover the very top layer of everything we're showing today. But honestly, the tools that we're showing you, it's very, very well invested time, even just on the weekend to spend like 3, 4, 5 hours to learning those tools. So I want to make them now, and of course I want to prototype them. This is why I showed from the T-Bone, which is basically just a recorder, like 20 euros. My hardware prototype would probably just look like an opened rubber duck where I put a recorder in that, and this recorder just sends to a receiver that's connected then to a computer or to the Wi-Fi. So we are prototyping, we are very, very fast. The hardware prototyping is not so much the interesting part. The interesting part is the software prototyping. And one stack that I love using for software prototyping is that I use Software in the front end, which is a Berlin-based tool. Then I use Make.com for all the logic, which is a Prague-based tool. And then I use Airtable, Silicon Valley-based. But you know, sometimes Silicon Valley also has some good companies to manage all my data. How does this look? So first of all, I create something in Make.com. If you're not aware with Make.com, it has quite a learning curve. But if you learn that you can automate almost everything. This is the diagram on how to build an AI chatbot that talks with users via WhatsApp. And actually not just one, this is 3 chatbots. I use that for an ice cream place that I co-own, that you have one chatbot that talks with our employees, a second one that talks with our customers, and a third one that talks with our suppliers. It's all the same chatbot, it just discriminates based on the number that you use, and this is super simple. Of course, you have to do some configuration in the nodes, but I also use the same tool to build QuackSync in the backend. So to make all the AI summaries, to make all the AI aspects that I want to have, to make all the data cleansing, I can use that. That works perfectly. Then in the front end, I use this tool called Software to have some things in the front end. It's really just click and add. Once you get into no code, once you get into all those tools, you will always find they have a quite similar layout. Everything today is what you get is what you see is what you get, and your preview is always here on the left, sometimes on the right, and the other side is always used for the tooling. Sometimes there's a third side used for some higher level settings like here, but once you get the hang of it, how one of the tools works, you get the hang of how all of the tools work. So I did that for the front end. This was a step right in the development. The thing you will see in a second, the ready-made solution looks a little bit more refined. And then of course I needed to manage data somewhere. So I used Airtable to manage the data, and those are 10 ideas I had this morning under the shower. Looking at them, probably none is really good, but I have them recorded, fantastic. So all the data is managed, looks very much like Excel, that's very much the point, but the great upside is this is not Excel, this is a real database. So having this, time box to an hour to be honest, because I had to work with 3 tools, I have a web app that is live online. Technically it has the capability to log in. I deactivated that to make it easier for you to show. But this is something you can do. It even has several functionalities. So you can swipe left or right on the idea if you like your idea afterwards or not. You can see how many notes you have taken. And if you scroll down, you can see all of your notes, even how good you find them or not. And if I want to add some features, super simple. It's some minutes and I have all the features added. And you want it in super high definition? There's also tools for that. One thing that I like using is Lovable. Again, there are tons of tools like that. And Lovable, you just prompt what it should code for you. And it natively codes that. You even on this platform, if you pay for that, you own the code. So I basically just say, build me the same app that I just built myself. It writes all this code for you. It probably takes 1 minute to write it for you in real time. And then you get your ready-made function. This is called a coding copilot. There's tons of tools like this out there. But if you really want to have something in native code, this is probably the way you want to go. And QuackSync is live. So if you want to look at the landing page, which again I made in half an hour, and the entire product in 1 hour, you can go there, and from the landing page you can even go to the web app. Everything is really working. We are not just telling you some fun stuff, but this was really something that I tried to squeeze in this week, which was a little bit stressful, to make something really, really live.
Wow, looks like a lot of fun. So can you give me one of the rubber ducks so that I can like record my ideas in the shower?
You can purchase them now, yes.
Perfect. Again, let us take a step back and have a look what has been done. First of all, the structure is a well-known structure in coding where you have these 3 layers. You need to have some kind of backend service that is storing and maintaining your data. Airtable does the job. Some people also just use services that are ones like Google Sheets or Notion, where you can also store some basic data. But also Retool is an interesting tool if you want to step up your game. It needs a little bit of coding, but also generates the code for you. Then you need to have some tools that manage your application logic. The choice you have there is so fast. There's, for example, Relay App or Zapier, Make, you showed us, or also Pipedrive, which was originally a CRM, offers some automation.
Oh, did we drive this should be Pipedream. I'm sorry, that was my mistake.
Okay. I also thought that Pipedrive has some automations.
It has, but the tool we are looking for is Pipedream,
Okay.
sorry.
And then in the end, you need to have some front-end services, so something that displays the stuff to your user. And there you can use no-code tools like Softer, UI Bakery, or also Superblocks. Then maybe you also want to step up your content generation because you say, now the product works, it should all look a little bit more professional. So there are tools like Ideogram, Leonardo AI, or even Runway ML help you to, for example, generate even videos of your product demonstrating the functionality. And then lastly, if you really say, okay, wait, but the functionalities are now somehow limited and I feel I can try out coding myself. Use it with AI. It's a lot easier. You can start with, for example, Claude Artifacts or ChatGPT Canvas, but then also use tools that generate some UI snippets for you, like Basti showed us. Those tools are, for example, Bolt, Replit, V0 from Vercel, or Lovable. And if you even want to really, really code with AI alongside you and you want to have some IDE, integrated development environment, you can use programs like Cursor AI, Devin, or GitHub Copilot to make it easier for you starting to code. Okay, so also there, Gen AI for building software solutions. What we see, the development cycles are extremely fast. Within half a day, Basti developed an idea and defined it. He developed a landing page, put it live, and he has a running prototype that he can test. Something that other people would have taken months, and that's also a quality we look in entrepreneurs we are supporting. We call it the word to action ratio.
I just try to catch up my
And in the end, it also lowers the barriers to start coding if you say, okay, I really want to professionalize and further sophisticate this idea. Okay, Basti, but now, what are the next steps? Can you give us a little bit of insights?
Yes, absolutely. So this is all nice and this might apply to some of you, but now, of course, the question is, can I do even more with AI? And the answer, of course, is yes. So, for example, I need to educate my employees. Can I use AI for that? You already saw a solution that I'm using myself. So yes, build a chatbot just with the tools that we were showing you. Rather simple. You have to learn a little bit about how assistants work in the OpenAI ecosystem. Instead of OpenAI, you of course can use every other LLM provider. The trickiest thing here is actually the integration with WhatsApp, because the Meta developer platform is not as easy to maneuver as most of the others I've seen. And this is the front end to that. That is an actual screenshot that I made of the AI. So fantastic. You can use that to empower your employees, you empower your suppliers. Everybody, we all know the problem of Fachkräftemangel. This is something you cannot solve the problem, but you at least can mitigate it. A second very, very popular example, can I use on customer support? QuackSync is a physical product, so physical products break, so I need customer service. Can I use that as well? Yes, of course I can. You know those transactional mailings that you get when you trigger a specific action? Usually this used to be a very development-heavy task. It would be a super tedious task anyways, because you had to make the coders talk to the marketing people, and they talk very different languages. Now, again, use an automation tool for that and say, okay, whenever I get a request, a customer service request, I automatically create a transactional email, and the customer gets the solution right away. The entire level 1 support can be completely automated. You don't even have to buy a tool. We were discussing that some month ago, that the first companies are getting rid of their CRM, because now with the no-code tools, you can replace the CRMs, at least for some of the use cases. And this is super, super powerful. Not only will you have way less work and be way better than your competition, but also be way more specific to your specific problem. And then the rubber ducks also have to be built. So can I use AI to program our production? And yes, you can also do that. This is something that I built at home. That's why I had no photo up for this. But I basically used a Raspberry Pi plus N8N, which is an automation tool that you can run locally, to manipulate every kind of effector, like robot arms. I use it at home to steer my smart home, of course. But basically, you can use that with MQTT triggers. If you know what MQTT is, it's basically a interface that allows a lot of machine-to-machine communication. This can all run locally. Showing this can run locally, all the machine learning runs on this chip. This chip is actually powerful enough. This entire rack costs you 120 euros. This is powerful enough to run a full-sized LLM completely without internet connection. So if you want to have your company your own LLM, invest 200 euros in a Raspberry Pi, and you have all the capabilities for that. Just a little side note, what I wanted to show is you can use AI to automatically steer your machines, which is, by the way, anyways a good idea, because in the next year, you know, with all the breakthroughs in robotics, to have a grip on your automations might be a good idea and good invested time. And then you might come and say, sounds good, but yes, AI can do. AI can do that. With the right applications, it's of course not only AI, it's always three things that come together: AI, no-code or low-code tools, and the human touch. We are not at the stage where you can live without the human touch. But if you wonder, can AI do? Yes, AI can do that. With you educated for the right tools, AI can do that.
Wow, Basti, what an outlook. It's really a time I want to spend time on that and build solutions myself. So with all that said, let us recap and summarize a little bit what we've seen. First of all, we did some discovery with basic chat tools. We put our basic empty prototype without any functionality out there to see if people want to have this. And then in the last step, we even build it ourselves and model the functionality without a single line of code. And with this, we followed the 6-step approach of building solutions that are more and more sophisticated and attached with less and less uncertainty over time. But what you've also seen is the more far you come on this process, the harder it gets to incorporate AI tools into your process. You have seen it now with the outlook from Basti. The things you use are getting more and more technically sophisticated, and you need to have more and more technical knowledge to actually realize it. But that's okay. The barrier of the things you can do yourself will at some point come. But the important thing to understand is that you really extend the runway you have where you can build stuff yourself before paying anybody anything to build it for you. and this is also something we want to point out. What we really love about it, AI functions as an amplifier and not a replacement. And there is a fundamental rethinking of the process we need to do. The first step always is, okay, what do I actually want to achieve? The second thing is, what is the job to be done that makes me achieve that? And then in the third step, I'm answering, okay, how can it be supported with AI? And if you don't know the answer to that, approach Basti or ask ChatGPT. But what is so beautiful about it, it enables you to focus on the qualities of an entrepreneur and an innovator. It makes you focus on the leadership, on the courage, on the human touch that is needed, on the intuition to make decisions, because it will produce a lot of output, a lot of knowledge. In the end, you have to decide with your human intuition the way you want to pursue. And that's the nice thing about it. I can strip away all the boring research stuff, all the lengthy coding and the technical depth, and I come to decisions and building right away. So, with AI and no-code tools, you can be as powerful as a tech giant. You can be as fast as a startup, and you can be as effective as your competitors. The biggest mistakes, and be aware of not making them, please. A, you never start learning the tools or even using them, because you think, like, no, it's too complicated. The most of it is just clicking and copy-pasting. Trust me, try it out, there's nothing you can break. The second thing is over-analyzing which kind of tool to use. Oh, the one has $2 less price a month, or this one has more special features that I won't use anyway. Just get started. And if you hit the barriers of the tools, of the things they can handle, then you can still switch, but it will take you a long time of actually getting there. Then the third thing, not trying to make mistake or break things. Just do it. There's nothing in production yet that is harmful then to anybody, hopefully. And yeah, fourth, being afraid to break things and tools. Try it out. If you actually break some services, it shows that you become a real expert. And with that,
we have some minutes for Q&A, which is fantastic.
Cool. I would say give it a try. What we want to show you this evening is everyone can start building today, and rest assured, it will be a lot of fun. Thank you.
Next slide. You will also be able to download the slides. They are not up yet, so please just open the tab now. I promise you 5 minutes after we finish the slide, I will have uploaded all the slides. Then you can get everything we showed you, plus some backup with some practical hints. But now I see we have some minutes for Q&A if you have questions. Yes?
I have a comment and a question. First, regarding a sentence that the AI is an amplifier, not a replacement, when it actually did replace the web designer and developer for the prototype, so somebody lost 2,000 euros, right? And if you aggregate that across all of the entrepreneurs and companies who are going to use these tools instead of those people, it did replace them. Okay, so that's the comment.
Yeah.
The question is, what do you think about using AI for coming up with the initial idea, for the initial hypothesis?
Do you have a slide for it? Oh.
Read this research paper. Discovery with AI actually is possible. It's an interesting publication from Stanford researchers that they took an LLM, they equipped it with some RAG capabilities so they can retrieve information from new documents, which were older machine learning research, and they asked LLMs to come up with new research ideas and new ways to pursue research. And in the end, they took top-level machine learning researchers to rate ideas of real humans and the LLM. And what has been shown is that the novelty of the LLM-generated ideas were rated much higher, and the quality as well.
Let me play devil's advocate on this, actually. Of course, in research, you have the advantage that at the end of every research paper, you have a call for further research. Yeah. LLMs, despite that, are not built to think outside the box. If you ask an LLM for something innovative in music, they will go through their prior knowledge and will probably come up with either Spotify or the iPod, because in the past, those have been described as innovative in the music industry. So you can make the AI to come up with very specific new ideas for very specific topics. Out of the box, ChatGPT will probably not be super helpful for you to generate new ideas.
And the reasoning models are better than that?
They are better, but still nowhere where I would trust their ideas.
Could I comment on that? But it's a very active research.
Mm.
We actually discussed new ideas with the founder of Mobileye and so on, and he published just papers. How can you use reasoning for novel idea generation beyond this? So it's a moving target, right? So
it's a moving target.
They gave this talk last year.
Right, I was here, I remember.
Exactly. So you probably saw the difference.
Yeah.
So let's see what next year brings,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
This is just a snapshot of what we're doing today. And as you know, we are investing a lot in that because we have deep tech life science startups, and we need to use every lever we have to reduce the time, to reduce the cost, right? And it's criminal if you don't use that as a startup. So yes, but let's see what it brings.
Yeah.
Thank you. More questions? Other comments? No? Who will buy Quacksync? One person. No, but you had a question, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, so thank you very much, first of all. Do you already have, also have a tool or a mixture of these tools when it comes to the whole funding and financial questions, basically? So writing business plans, accelerating costs, or kind of doing plans with financial numbers? Yeah.
So there's, for example, Dime a Dozen is one of the prime examples that help you create a business plan also to be VC ready. From my personal experience, I would not trust those plans. They are also kind of wishy-washy and go not in the depth that probably a VC wanted to see. However, it works very well the other way around. If you give your pitch deck to the AI and say, as a VC, where would you take it apart? You get some really interesting thoughts sometimes on where you could do that. However, and I'm not sure if you have a different experience, I would not trust an AI today to create a pitch deck for you.
Yeah, so the things I saw, some market research about market sizes and so on, it can do, but I would not even call it an 80-20 solution. Maybe we're at 50, 60%. The results I've seen there, whenever it comes to numbers, you need to rework it. But what helps many of the startup founders already is the way to come up with those numbers. How do you actually calculate stuff? Like, for example, with market sizes, do you do it top down, bottom up? How do you calculate it based on your business model and so on? So it already is a kind of a help. Is the quality at 100%? No.
Thank you.
But that's why we still have a job.
Well, top of my mind, unfortunately only the top of my mind is that there's a company, but not the name of the company. This particular company is, I think, even a German company building an AI just for numerical reasoning. So there are companies like this. If you also go to Hugging Face, there are tons of models. So this is also a very vivid research topic right now. As you know, LLMs like words, they don't like numbers. But there is more and more. So there's more. SPSS, for example, is a target for a lot of companies that they want to replace SPSS, the statistics software, with an AI model. It's either Da Vinci or some Italian. I can look it up if you want to stay afterwards. There are companies doing the mathematical reasoning.
Drop them a mail.
Also, this is a little bit part of the whole agentic movement, because you need to have LLMs that can interact with tools, so where they can do calculations and not coming up with random numbers. So I think we're going to see much more tools that will ramp up the quality in the next 12 months, I guess.
Mm. Yes?
Any quick tips on how to get better with your prompts and questions?
Yeah. Well, we have classes on that. Those are free. Maybe I drop a link into the slides in a second.
But also from experience, I think watch 2-3 YouTube videos about it, then your knowledge about it is kind of saturated, and then it's learning by doing. Especially what is more powerful than many people expect before that, the iterative improvement of your prompts, because you start to understand how does a difference in input result in a different output. And this kind of understanding helps you then to improve your prompts yourself. Then there are a lot of techniques like meta prompting and so on, but keep it 80-20 and
Absolutely.
do the things that work.
Do you already recommend some interface to the administrative legal side in terms of company formation, all the steps for you to really get your Quacksync going and selling?
So your question is about an AI that helps me set up the company, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And filing necessary documents, etc.
Well, we actually have an entire lab on legal tech where we have, I think most of the companies there are AI enabled. You're kind of touching a very complex field, so you probably would have to work with a couple of solutions. But also, if you shoot us an email, we can give you a selection of companies in our lab.
And the most common recommendation we give there, because it's legal, so you always need to be a bit careful, is also take it from an entrepreneurial view. We tell the people, educate yourself with those AI tools and make your drafts yourself, which are 80% ready, and then discuss with lawyers, but be informed beforehand, so you don't take 10 hours with them, but just 2. And it's also then an 80-20 solution, not perfectly out of the box, but it speeds up your game and saves you a lot of money already.
Yes?
Could you maybe illustrate it for service-based companies like consultancies, agencies, how to iterate a process like this? Because we hear this quite a lot right now, so with agentic systems and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you already try it also in that process case?
Like consulting, or?
Yeah, consulting or agencies, or let's say, how would they iterate a process like this towards their clients?
Mm. So you have a lot of boilerplate processes, right? So you already said the magic word, agentic, which is a buzzword, of course, but you can build, of course, with either just with the assistance that, for example, OpenAI allow you to use to go through some, for example, to go through market research or to write up a report. If you are a little bit on the higher coding, for example, the AI Studio by Microsoft Azure, which allows you to go even more complex into building agents that also kind of evaluate themselves against some prior data. If you want to be a little bit more crazy by implying more APIs, then things like Pipedream or Make would probably be the things for you. In general, the things that you want, of course, is connect the LLM or AI model of your choice with some data of your choice that you can already do inside the Claude backend. This is what you can do inside the OpenAI backend, probably with some functions that you also can do in the OpenAI backend. It's probably a little bit easier to be done through workflow automations, and maybe even with some APIs, which is easiest to be done with workflow automation tools.
Just refocus on business creation. There are tons of consultants around here, both from McKinsey and from BCG.
Whom you don't need.
2 years ago, that's prehistory, published a study with Harvard together, how they increased the productivity. They took two competitive groups and said how much better did they perform with AI. And it was 2 years ago. So believe me, it's the hottest topic in all the consulting companies, but let's see how much they share with.
I think we would have time for one more question, or if not, then I will upload the slides in a minute, and then you can all go home with fantastically drawn slides and a new business idea. Thank you so much. That will break things. Sehr gut. Dann der Herr da hinten ist am Handy, aber der kann dann auch nicht. Ach so, wir sagen jetzt auch auf Wiedersehen zu allen 2 Zuschauern. Einer ist Andrea, der anderen kennen wir.